in-laws were, and it all centered around my in-laws and stating to them that my son, their grandson, was in the hospital and in jail, and they needed money for surgery, and they needed money to get him out of jail. All it would have taken was a single cell phone call, but they pushed that emotional button with my in-laws, and the $30,000. And the police said, nothing they could do. Like I said before, it can be really hard to identify a scam because there's grifts every day. But here to help clean up scam behavior and possible solutions is Susan Topor. Susan Topor of Detroit Free Press, thank you so much for joining us today on Spin Minute. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is one of my favorite topics. I mean, I can only imagine the boon that the last couple of years has given you, because I feel like scammers are everywhere right now. Oh my God, I counted how many times I wrote a column on scams last year, and literally 25 times or more. And I'm like, gosh, that's too much. I mean, you have covered all types of scams. You covered fake puppy scams on eBay, fake job postings, phishing, Amazon gift card scams, crypto ATM scams. Your work runs the gamut. Is there like an anatomy, a common anatomy of these scams that you've encountered or heard about in your reporting? One thing that is common is they often, as some experts call it, get into the ether. What they do is they get you going and they convince you, well, this is part of a new process, this is the way we're doing things, and they brush you, they put you in a state where you feel like, I have to act right now. If I don't act right now, I won't get the job. If I don't act right now, the IRS is going to come knocking on my door, or someone else will come knocking on my door. Another thing that was huge, or has been huge the last couple of years, is the Amazon scam. They'll say somebody's gone into your account and charged $1,000 for an iPhone. They'll text you on that. But oddly enough, it goes from Amazon to a U.S. Marshal to money laundering. And sometimes they've got you going to a Walmart or some other store to buy gift cards, a Target to buy gift cards, and you're reading them off the numbers of the parking lot. Part of it is because we were so isolated during the pandemic, we don't talk to one another as much. I'm not sure why our mental state is like this. Very vulnerable. Everybody's vulnerable to it. Coming up, we'll go deeper into the Scammer Toolbox with Susan Topor of the Detroit Free Press. You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Lewis.
If you're looking for the East Empire Company, they've been going for a long time.
NPR thanks the following business members for their financial support. Nobility, a loose-leaf tea beverage store in San Antonio. Bridgehead IT, an enterprise-level information technology firm. And School of Science and Technology, K-12. To learn about the business membership program, go to tpr.org. TPR's business membership just got better. Fix it up. Our new business mixers for TPR business members continues on April 13th in New Braunfels at headwaters at the Comel with Two Carts Bakery. Come enjoy nature, delicious treats, and inspiring businesses to mingle with at TPR's next Fix It Up. Thursday, April 13th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Not a business member yet? Sign up today at tpr.org in the Support TPR tab.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Indeed, a hiring platform committed to helping businesses of all sizes. Businesses can invite candidates to apply, then schedule and conduct interviews in one place. Indeed.com/NPR. And from Angie, Angie's List is now Angie, dedicated to helping homeowners get home projects done well, from everyday repairs to dream remodels. Reviews, pricing, and booking are at Angie.com or on the Angie app. And from listeners like you who donate to this NPR station. You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Lewis, here with Susan Topor of the Detroit Free Press. In the past few years, she's reported on types of scams. Today, she's going to give us some tips on how to avoid them. Sounds like one of the common threads is this sense of urgency, as you mentioned, and that pressure, as you mentioned, gets victims to do things that they under normal circumstances would not do. What do you think scammers are trying to take advantage of by creating this false sense of urgency in their victims?
They're trying to stop you from interacting with somebody else who might correct the situation. So they keep you on the line. They tell you not to hang up. Victims tell me that the scammer told them when they went to the bank, tell them you're taking the money out for carpeting because they're going to ask you why you're taking the money out. They don't want you to have someone stop you.
I also feel like those types of scams end up putting you in a position where, like, as a victim, you may be more prone to using an app like Zelle or Venmo or Cash App. Talk to me about how using an app like that might leave a victim maybe more vulnerable than if they had been scammed in some other way.
What's come up with the Zelle and some of these payment apps, people really aren't that familiar with how they can be scammed with them. They're used to using them with their friends. We haven't heard the warnings quite as much. Number two, they use a sophisticated way to get into your bank account through these apps. And that's where it becomes almost like a gift card situation where you're not going to get that money back. If you've given access to somebody to say to buy a puppy on Zelle, and it's a scammer, it's not a real puppy, you've lost that money. Well, it becomes more complicated because the banks are saying, often you're the one authorizing this.
Right.
They don't even realize that access was granted to a checking account.
All sorts of direction that they're giving you to fix the problem or to handle something.
And one thing that I wrote about early this year is that many consumers were starting to hear supposedly from their bank saying that they've been victimized. And it's not the bank that's calling, it's the scammer. And then the scammer's impersonating the bank.
Right.
And yes,
Right.
So it gets really pretty bad.
Yeah, that's what happened to one of our producers on the show. That's part of why we're talking today, because she was scammed in that way. How is using these apps different from using a credit card or a debit card in a situation like this?
No protection. Absolutely no protection. If you use a credit card, most of the time you are not going to be held responsible. But with these apps, there is no protection. And, it's fine if you're listening to a friend, probably, right? But it's not even fine that use these apps more.
Wait, so I happen to have a couple thoughts about this, but why is it that there are no protections? Why is that different than
laws written differently when it comes to electronic transfers, and it dates back to the 70s. And so some of these things weren't in place, and so the law needs to be adjusted. Obviously, the bank doesn't want to recover you every time you make a mistake, but you have to do it with a credit card. And there's a law that protects you with a credit card. There isn't with an app.
how do bank agencies and companies respond to this?
I'm a different
Who are
person.
the victims of
And I
scams
am
that
not.
have been through the aid of peer-to-peer apps?
They're going to have to do an investigation. Sometimes they'll give you the money on hold,
Right.
and put it back in your account. But when they go through the investigation and they determine that you gave them access, that's the thing. Did you give them access? Did you give the scammers access to the account in some way? That's when it becomes a problem, and that's when they do back out. So I guess the one way to say this is if somebody came in and took the money out of your account and you weren't even ever in line, then that would be pretty obvious. But if somehow you gave them their ATM card and the password, you're responsible. That's the problem. There was one woman I interviewed, I think it was an energy scam or the utility, people impersonated the utility. The bank told her they were giving the money back. She saw the money back. And then all of a sudden they said it was a mistake. That they weren't giving her the money back.
What?
Yes.
Well, she had the money back and then the money was gone?
Right.
Oh, no. It kind of sounds like you made a delineation between fraud, which is somebody making their way into your account, and doing whatever they want with your money, right? Or impersonating you so they can get your funds. And scamming, which is somebody contacting you and trusting them with your financial information. I think we've been talking around this idea of a stigma against people who have been scammed as opposed to being defrauded. Why do you think there's such a stigma against people who have been scammed when they are also victims too?
Well, when I first started doing this type of coverage 7 or 8 years ago, a lot of the focus, as I mentioned, was on elderly consumers, and there was a stigma there that the scammers took advantage of because the elderly wouldn't want to admit that they have been scammed, because that's another sign that they can't handle things, and their family can sometimes turn against them. Say, well, you can't handle this, you need to go into assisted living, you can't go alone, you're not responsible. But then I think it kind of goes into other groups too. People don't want to be open about it because they feel like, well, I look foolish because I did this. And then the scammer takes advantage of that because people aren't reporting the scam, and then the word doesn't get out. Well, how are they scamming people? It feels like a lot of these people get away with it. Why is it so hard to bring scammers to justice? I think part of it is that sometimes it'll be a crime ring like in another country, and that's difficult to crack down on. And it's important to lock your car doors. It's important not to keep your keys in your car. These are all important things. But at the end of the day, if somebody comes in and steals your catalytic converter when you're at Target, there's a theft. I compare that to what's going on with your money. If the consumer is picking up the tab on all these thefts, then there's no way you're going to get improved enforcement. But if the banks have to pick up the tab, well, then maybe I think they'd figure something out. With being a little aggressive, okay, they figure out it's a problem.
You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, here with Susan Tomport of Detroit Free Press. I wonder who's actually making efforts to protect consumers. Could you tell me more about the lawmakers who are making noise about this issue?
Oh, Elizabeth Warren has been very loud on this issue lately.
And the overall numbers are enormous. We know of at least $500 million in transactions. May not seem like a lot of money to you, but to the person who just lost $450, it's a lot of money to them.
Some other Democrats are working on it as well. In terms of some of these other scams, I think the Federal Trade Commission do have the FBI working on some of these issues, but I don't really know in terms of how much progress is being made.
And you're expert, I should say. What can people do to detect a scam?
To protect yourself from a scam, unfortunately, much of it falls
Bring your
on
windows
internet.
I'll fix it up tonight.
It's just gotten to the point, I hate to say it, but you can't use your phone, unless you recognize the number. You can't talk to strangers, it really is unfortunate.
I don't
And they're
You've given us something to
you're going to interact, but the minute you start interacting, the minute they can start beating.
destroying it. I think I can teach you a thing or two.
Times lower. Another way, I think, to protect yourself is when somebody starts asking for numbers of any sort, your credit card number, social security number. If somebody starts trying
Do
to
you have any public
the story
Talk to my
of
wife.
any sort, whether it be they're going to shut down your electricity because you haven't paid the bill, whether it be the IRS, it's important to understand, if I may be a target because I know one day or I may have some money, if I'm a non-English speaker, I'm likely to be targeted.
If they desire,
The
citizens of
I think it's important to reach out to your city's police department, FTC.gov, if you want to report anything in terms of identity theft. You need to talk with your bank. You do have to change that information to stop them from gaining access. It is also recommended by the experts to Google things.
Honestly, that's been my friend. Anytime anybody calls me from, a number that I don't recognize, I Google it to see what the scammers sometimes Fortunately, we have people like you who are getting to the root of these scams all of the time and keeping us informed on what we can do to protect ourselves until more protections are put in place. So, Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about it. Thank you. That was Susan Tompor from the Detroit Free Press. Coming up, I put my newfound camping knowledge to the test to play Sounds Fake But Okay with gender reveal host Tough Good Stuff. You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Ricky Lewis. Gender reveal. Welcome to It's Been a Minute. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a thrill and a joy. Trust me, the pleasure is all mine. So today, Tuck and I are going to play a little game where I'm trying to pull a fast one on him. It's called Sounds Fake, but okay. So, Tuck, I'm going to tell you 2 stories, and you have to guess whether each story is real or fake. Are you ready? I'm ready. Okay. All right. So, first story. So, I used to live in Washington, D.C., and this one's true. I live in Washington, D.C., and I survived. You're right about that part is true. I'm from the Detroit area, so if I was gonna fly home, see my family, then I would fly out of California. It was just like cheaper, and so it's
With the aspect taken care of, I can get my men best ready.
another friend
Well
from
done.
D.C. who was flying out of Baltimore to Detroit also the next day to go see her family. So it's just like, why don't we just like go to Baltimore, go party with our other friends, hang out, and
If it wasn't for the bull,
airport.
we'd be digging our houses out
And
underneath
so
the ash.
I only slept like an hour. I set my alarm. I rushed. I had to get to the airport, but I realized I don't have my wallet. All I had in my coat pocket,
Modin Bella, captain of the Red Wing Guard.
which is, I wasn't even in college anymore at that point. I was freaking out though, because like this is post 9/11. Like I didn't know what I was going to do. If I didn't get this flight home, I was going to be screwed. So I had to go up to the counter and be like, oh my gosh, I don't have my wallet. All I have is student ID. How can I get on the plane? And they're like, look, you just have to see. So they printed my ticket. I go to the TSA and I'm feeling terrible because like I didn't change the night before. This is also like peak NBC. I'm wearing like an American Apparel tube turtleneck dress, like hiked up very small. I have like runs through my ties. I was wearing like fried cowboy. But somehow, I don't know if I looked pitiful. Also, everybody was wearing my TSA was black. They looked at my college ID. I told them my sad little story. I guess I looked sorry enough, and they let me pass through. I made my flight. Later, one of my friends said, my beloved Coach Rislett in her apartment, and she flew home with us that day and dropped us at my house. I feel like this is true because this is a thing that happens often. Like, you gotta have a way for people to get home. They don't want people living in the airport like that one man from the movie. Like, you gotta get home somehow. So I think that this is true, and if any of it was false, I would be like, it's true, except that actually she didn't fly her well.
Last time I had a job, I was using my glass.
Is the story all true? Yay! So, right now, the game is 0. Tuck 1. Okay, so are you ready for story number 2? Okay. So, the first thing that you need to know is that I was a child opera singer. Okay. There's children's parts in a lot of operas, and I have so many questions. We have another hour for this podcast. I have so many questions about child opera singer. Anyway, go ahead. They have a lot of children's parts because they need kids, whatever, in opera gigs. And so what I did is I sabotaged him. And so my audition, like I told him before Danny, I thought I could do the job. But I came out and Danny was supposed to go in, and I was just like, oh, they actually gave me the note to sing it happy. It's really great. Like you should like give it some flair. Like I think bring a lot of energy. Like I don't know. He went in there and he sang it all bright and happy. And he did his little giggle. But when the solo was posted, I didn't get it either. Like everyone else got it. The other little goody two shoes, Kevin got it. So that's probably the most advertising I've done. What a tale. Here's the thing. It's really very good. I'm sure the child is but I feel like really cool. And it just hard for me to imagine basically the so I would say that this is also true, but also because I think it is an incredible space for what I've known about you previously, that you're also a child saboteur. Well, the story's not true. But I actually was a child saboteur. I didn't sabotage anybody. I mean, it really seems so out of character for you, but you just like played it on so convincingly. It wouldn't match anything that I knew about you as a person, but then I was like, well, you know, people grow and change. If it was true, we were going to more, but that's just not true. Thank you so much for having me. It's really such a treat to talk with you. And yeah, next time when I come back, I'll practice lying to you. It'll be great. Thanks again to Tough with Zach. His podcast, Gender Reveal, is available wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up, the whiteness of vanilla girls and using beauty trends as soft power. I'm Brittany Luce. You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR.
NPR thanks the members for financial support. Holdsworth and Nicholas, bridging traditional and emerging media. AAA Auger Plumbing Services. Hickman Hardy and Simplot, LLP. And Never Too Late Currency Exchange at the airport. Learn more about these business members at dpr.org. Support for DPR comes from Wild Bird's Unlimited Nature Shop at Hebner and Northwest Military and at 479 Bird, offering ways to prepare backyards for spring with bird baths and feeders to attract local songbirds, as well as fountain St. Giants. Texas Public Radio is supported by contributors to the Border and Immigration News Desk, including the Alice Taylor Reynolds Foundation.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Progressive. Progressive Commercial Auto Insurance protects the cars, trucks, and vans that work to keep small businesses moving forward, including protection while running errands and other tasks at progressivecommercial.com. And from Carla Itzkovich, whose gift in memory of Moises Itzkovich, founder of the Moises Itzkovich Foundation, helps provide public radio news and information to communities around the world. And from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation at macfound.org.
You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. It's time to log in and get chronically online.
Oh my God! What is that?
Chronically Online is where we dissect the biggest trends on the internet. And I hope every meme, mess, and microtrend comes from somewhere.
I love those.
And we're going to unravel, unpack, and recontextualize the most viral trends.
Welcome to part 4 on your guide to entering your villain era.
So for today's video, it's going to be a giant She-Hulk.
Here's some ways on how to activate your divine feminine energy. Because what happens online doesn't happen by accident. It's time
to get
Today's Chronically Online starts with the clean girl.
You know those girls that always look clean? Their skin is always glowing, their lips are always glossed, and they never ever look like they're wearing too much makeup. It may not be them.
Now, if you don't know the trend, it's usually women wearing no makeup, a neutral wardrobe, and low almond-shaped nails. The hashtag carries a whopping 3.1 million views on TikTok. And if you take even a cursory scroll through the trends, you'll also notice that it can take a long time to see someone who's not white. And from the clean girl, you can tumble into other trends that seem to center whiteness, like balletcore, the old money aesthetic, cottagecore, and the vanilla girl. My guest today isn't shy about calling out these growing trends. She wrote an essay titled White Women Want Their Power Back.
For me, it does feel like a very strong messaging by white women who have politically fallen out of favor over the past few years and want to be seen as the apex of femininity once more.
That's Steffi Sao, writer and internet culture reporter for BuzzFeed. And where some may see an innocuous turn to neutrals, modesty, and minimalism, Steffi sees a political arsenal. Today on the show, Steffi and I deep dive into beauty politics as soft power. Steffi, welcome to It's Been a Minute. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, pleasure. So we are here today to discuss an essay that you recently published to your Substack called White Women Want Their Power Back. I want to start off with the moment you knew you had to write this article.
When I was growing up, it was all about being thick, so cute.
Or two C's.
Yeah, 2 C's or Q. Never the CK. Yeah, that was like the dominant culture when I was in high school, and that's what I became of age under. I don't know why, but I've just been getting fell of lifestyle content, particularly around Pilates, high protein, low carb diets, and I think at a certain point I was like, I think they just want me to be a skinny white woman, because that's all that I see.
In your essay, you mentioned different trends. Clean girl, hashtag like balletcore.
Same way as the model off-duty look, it still gives that effortless chic on-the-go vibe, but with warmer clothing items like leg warmers here or boleros.
But a recent one that has seemed to spark a lot of discussion is the vanilla girl, which Glamour UK said is shaping up to be one of TikTok's biggest trends of the year.
Yes.
What is the vanilla girl, and why has this trend sparked so much ire in comparison to the other ones?
For me, vanilla girl is literally like the color vanilla. Everything is pale and cream and white and eggshell. Also, the vanilla girl aesthetic is not very expensive, but it is creative. There's not a lot of variation in it. It's cream, white, beige, what I would call a latte color. You don't want to go too brown, because then you're heading into cinnamon girl territory. And I think a lot of people who see vanilla girl, I think part of it is like this discourse around, I don't think this one's for me. I don't think this one's for you. I don't think this one's for a lot of people. Look like clothes and like what items. And so I just want to know like why these things are. And I think people are aware of all these like very white trends, these like not like white and women participating, but literally the color white, which then also determines the influencers who can be the most successful in it.
Right.
Vanilla girl for me is one I'm like, everything is literally white. It is a very, to me, it's not anti aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty on the nose. Like, to your point, I can't imagine what response would be from the people in my life if I walked around with something like the vanilla girl.
Right. My parents would feel like they had failed me for my
But who's like the shining star of the clean girl beauty aesthetic right now? There's celebrities that are listeners might know about really is like the picture of the clean girl.
I think for a long time, it may have been Hailey Bieber. Hi, I'm Hailey Bieber, and I'm here to answer Bazaar's burning beauty questions. I do really like chill makeup. It's very natural, just glowy looking. Hailey Bieber was really a very popular search term for a lot of the simple silhouettes and the basic nail and the that she got called out for because it's a very big part of the like 90s lesbian culture.
You have like the brown lip liner with like a much lighter lipstick or lip gloss and just blending it together.
Right, yeah. So the clean girl is marketable in the way of it's attainable and it feels like someone who lives next door to you but has their life together. I think the beauty of the clean girl is that it's so successful because she could be any girl within a specific guideline.
You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, here with BuzzFeed's Steffi Sao, and we're talking about the online beauty trends that seem to center white femininity, like the vanilla girl. They seem to bring us back to definitely very stereotypical gender roles, but I see that kind of connected to a lot of the trad wife or traditional wife content that I see online, which has also become really popular over the past few years.
With my traditional values, a desire to be a busy stay-at-home mother of many children, my cooking skills and feminine style, I think I would have enjoyed being a 1940s woman.
What might it signal that so many white women on the internet appear to be leaning back into these traditional feminine ideals of the past?
All of these things, all these trends that we see online, play to power. The stay-at-home girlfriend, on the surface being, I'm reclaiming my power as someone who doesn't want to work, and you know what, I actually do love staying at home, and none of these things seem bad in essence, but we fall back into, I guess, quote-unquote traditional family roles of the wife being at home, and things like the drama that happened with wives who were packing lunches for their lying husband.
Big competition around who's performing better at these types of ideals.
Right. It does all feel related in some way to very traditional forms of misogyny and hegemony, the simultaneous rise of traditional white culture, as well as the return to a very, I would say boring, but like a very traditional form of beauty of like whiteness and thinness and hyper-femininity.
Dr. Captain Galley
I don't
looking
think
at
their
his passport.
simultaneous rise is coincidental. And so when I see all these aesthetics,
Looking to hire a boat?
clean girl, crystal grandma, beige girl, vanilla girl, to me it does feel like a very strong messaging by white women who have politically fallen out of favor and want to be seen as the apex of femininity once more.
So when you say politically fallen out of favor, what do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, Miley Cyrus she was high off perk with her J's on.
If you've got trinkets, ozoniums, that sort of thing.
She was, twerking at the VMAs, and it was this attempt in our culture to be as close to blackness as possible while not suffering what the black community goes through in our political system. And I would say since that era, there's been more clear understanding of how white women are also oppressors. We watched so many videos of Karens having meltdowns, calling the police on people of color, and then after that, there was a demand for white women to face the consequences. So politically, white women have fallen out of favor and become less cool. And so now, for me, it feels like an attempt at soft power, because when I look at countries like Japan and the Cool Japan initiative that was specifically set up to export culture, anime, and video games.
In the post-war era.
Right, in order to appeal more harmless and friendly as a nation to the world. It feels like a similar response now.
Sounds like what it's almost like there's this charm is what you're saying.
Yes.
Through these aesthetics to take hold of some of the only type of power, capital that's available to most women, which is beauty.
Absolutely. Like as you said, white women have long held this currency in victimhood and being the perfect victim. It becomes harder to maintain a sense of purity, of wholeness to a wider society that no longer fully buys into it anymore. And so, for me, it felt like a very direct response to our politics, and beyond that, our movement for justice.
You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, here with BuzzFeed's Steffi Sao, and we're talking about the online beauty trends that seem to center white femininity.
Just remember
Like,
to get your hands on it.
it's almost like the trend of looking more, quote-unquote, racially or ethnically ambiguous is over, or at least sunsetting for white women who popularized it. And even the Kardashians have long borrowed black aesthetics to set trends. They've appeared to become less curvaceous, and they have been looking to Marilyn Monroe and Pamela Anderson for inspiration. You know, there are people listening to this who spend very little time on the internet. People who think a clean girl is simply a person who has showered and doesn't matter to them.
How you choose to view your own body in this wider society is inherently a very political act, which is why things like the body positivity movement that we see online is such a big deal, one, but also it's harder to sell that.
There are a few places where one can see my type of work without fear of persecution.
And so, beauty politics
Until next time.
I wonder what we could.
So, I wish to master the arcane
Who was the top, who was the coolest person in the room? And then how then, from there, you police your own self, you police your own choices, and how you perceive others as well.
Well, that makes me think about something that you talked about in your article. You mentioned in the article how white women have been, or really you unpack in the article, how white women have been co-opting East Asian culture. But on our team, some people felt that many of these Asian trends developed outside of European whiteness.
No matter what.
What does it mean for white women to co-opt that aesthetic and bring it here? And also I wonder, what assumptions are they making about East Asian women that this is an aesthetic that they want to interpret at this moment?
I do think it is interesting in that way, this perception of East Asian women in Western lifestyle content. And I think that lends its hand because East Asian women are often conceptualized as also very hyper-feminine, also very, drag-like. They're fetishized as these docile, quiet, apolitical beings, right? So I think it fits well in with this attempt of white girl soft power, because so many of the factors just line up while also providing a sense of tokenized diversity, even though, a lot of East Asian women are light-skinned and are often conceptualized as thin and pale and doe-eyed in the West.
It's so strange to see this trend of white women co-opt East Asian culture in 2023. Like, it's so strange to see it now. But people my age can't help but think of that memorable time when Stefani was doing that just about 20 years ago. I mean, well, she was co-opting the South Asian culture in the 90s. And then the 2000s of East Asian culture and a lot of Chicana culture. But it's almost like this trend is cyclical.
Yeah, this for me feels different because it is another very specific image of Asianness that's being exported into the fullness of white norms. So it's a different woman than it was in the 90s, which is like a doll essentially, like with, big lashes and the big bright colors. This is a different woman, but the essences of what is cool is essentially what fits again into what we've already determined as desirable in our content.
Well, it's a trend that you haven't seen yet, and you're like, I want this to pop. And you've got to invent a trend and put it into
a trend. Oh man.
I mean, this is National Public Radio. I mean, you
Williams, Mark Sherwood,
Liam McFadden.
Corey Antonio Rhodes.
Our intern is
Jamal Michelle.
This episode was edited by Jessica Mendoza.
Jessica Plachek.
Engineering support came from
Alex Drewinskis. Trey Watson.
our executive producer
Yes?
is Marilyn Williams. Our VP of programming is Yolanda Sanguini. Our senior VP of programming is
Anya Grundman.
All right, that's our show for today. I'm Brittany. See you next week for another episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. Support for NPR comes from this station and from BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy. Clients are matched with one of 25,000 therapists and can communicate via video, chat, or phone at betterhelp.com/public. And from Angie. Angie's List is now Angie, dedicated to helping homeowners get home projects done well. From everyday repairs to dream remodels.
Hello. We have a little
Okay.
pocket.
All right,
And
Angie,
this
on
is a bit of a
On the Angie app. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
The following business members help make the programming possible on TPR. McNally Financial Services, investment advisor and broker-dealer. KT Pool, swimming pool and spa maintenance and repair. And Guadalupe Family Health and Primary Care, Seguin. More about business membership is at TPR.org. Get your 2023 TPR Fiesta Medal from SA Flavor, designed by San Antonio artist Paulo de la Tierra. This year's medal honors the indigenous legacy along San Antonio, the home of TPR's HQ. Visit SAFlavorMedals.com today and Viva Fiesta. KSTX San Antonio, on the air at 89.1 FM and online at TPR.org. It's 7 o'clock. When eBay describes what it was like to grow up in a town in the Gobi Desert, it was hers. The physical hardship of it. Harsh winters. Summer so
What have
hot,
you
we
done
have to
down
go to the road. No. We got our way to school year
I've
before
got
me.
plenty of big merchandise.
This is China in the 1970s. Our town, Chuchuan, had a big factory that made products out of metal and steel. There were some really poor farms. Egan's dad had a job that was better than most, Egan says. He led the musicians for the local song and dance ensemble, making shows for the government. Basically, propaganda. Go toward to smaller towns. When she started growing up, her dad told her, "You're going to learn to play an instrument." And she started, on the violin. It wasn't until she got older that he explained why.
He doesn't want me to have a job that has to be under the sun in the factory with my hand.
Do me a favor.
And then when your dad tell you have to do this because this is your future,
Yes,
he would.
he would.
What would he say?
I remember one time he took me to the market. There are people selling like garments on the street. It was really hot. And he says, "Look, if you don't practice, you will work here." Did you say that a girl? She was 20 to sell a pair of
My friend.
She was clean.
Better.
I thought, oh, so hot, I can't sleep.
And that motivates you when you think about that. Keep it practicing. No. It's good. She hated practicing. And that was doing like 2 hours a day, 4 or 5 hours a day when to school. Sometimes while she practiced, she put rubber bands around the caraway to do Chinese jump rope. Other times,
I was playing the comic books. I put on a music stand.
you were playing the comic books. What do you
No,
mean?
I wasn't flipping comic books. I would just play, and I would flip the comic
Yes, my thing. Do you need something? I'm still here.
Where do you get the music?
Lead on.
He had a copy.
Oh, what is it?
Music he borrowed from his friends in his organization.
Let's just get this over with.
They're all some
Let's just get this over with.
Daddy's with pages.
Let's just get this over with.
They hand copy. Someone
Let's
else.
just get this over with.
Someone else.
Let's just get this over with. 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 I think you'll need to find some of those first. Only overload works, remember?
Just go like that. He says, look, this is very fast, and this is a flat, this is sharp, and quickly. If you go quick, the lines are very straight. You can't be slow. You can't shake your hand.
Then in 1977, Evie's 7 years old. She gets home from school and her dad is all excited.
He says, come, I have something to tell you. I thought I was in trouble. He says, no. We're going to audition for Xi'an Conservatory.
A year after Chairman Mao's death, China's music conservatories were open again and holding auditions. Suddenly, playing the violin could open up a whole world to Evie, a world far from their town of Gobi.
He says, if you get you have your future.
He wanted you to get out of the Gobi desert area.
Yes.
So it's his goal. You'll play the violin, and then you'll end up, in some big city somewhere.
Yes. Then I'm on my way in a big city. It's class up.
If she aces this audition, she'll be in Xi'an, one of the largest cities in the country. You could get her into a big city orchestra, get her into university.
So did Delva?
Oh,
That's where she came from. And so this became their single-minded goal. And I'm telling you this story because this is This American Life, WBC Chicago, and our whole show today is about people who set out on some path, and they are ripped off that path by bad luck, by fate, by mistakes they made that they didn't even know they were making. And then they have to fight and claw their way back. The biggest thing to throw Evie off course is still to come. And it's one where her father is really left with no options, where he has to try and invent something out of absolutely nothing to fix things and get back on course. Stay with us. Okay, so Evie's dad tells her about these auditions when she's 7 years old. But the conservatory in Xi'an, it's a middle school, and so she can't actually audition until she's old enough for middle school. And Dave and I have
Give my regards to Carlisle.
1981. And she finally gets a chance to grab at this special future that her dad has been preparing for years. Though, before they can do that, they have one rather serious obstacle to overcome first. They don't have enough money for train tickets to get to Xi'an for the audition or for hotel. So Dad gets relatives to donate some money. He sells off stuff from their house. And there was some money when his dad died that had never been distributed. Getting some of that led to a squabble with his older brother that lasted for years. But at the end of all that, money in hand, one spring day, Evie and her dad headed off on the train. The ride to Xi'an took 36 hours, a trip unlike anything she'd ever taken in her life. First time leaving a part of China. First time visiting a
live here.
The hotel was close to the conservatory and noisy, she says, with the sounds of kids' instruments, filled with parents and kids who were also on the street. She heard that and started to get nervous.
This present, Papa. I hope you like it.
Evie made it through the first round of auditions, and the second round. After that, not many kids were left in the hotel.
The hotel was very quiet, I remember, at the breakfast.
15 violinist were left. Evie was the very last one to play for the judges.
I remember I walked into the room. It was a big room. There were 6 people on the panel. I was very confident because I began to play with the pianos. The conservatory provides it. I remember I really enjoyed having the piano to play. I thought, wow, listen to that sound. I sounded so good with piano.
Because you never heard yourself do that.
No, I never played with piano. I was very confident. I thought the concerto was so well prepared. I also liked the concerto because it has a melody, there is a technical part you can show off.
This is being basically sight reading. For me, the concerto that you played that time by J.B. Acolyte. She's also played the other solo violin pieces you've heard in the story. Anyway, so the audition, she's playing, feeling great, barely a page in.
Someone in the panel clapped their hands and said, okay, that's it. Thank you. You can go. I was shocked because the best part, I haven't reached there yet. I look at them, I saw them talking. One teacher, I remember, he had a double chin. He was shaking his head. I saw the chin was moving. And then I heard he said, no.
Yes, my love. We have a cozy little puppy. Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that.
I walked out the room. I remember I was terrified. I thought, my dad's dream, it's over.
She says she also thought, I'm 11 and a half. No more Green City, no more hotel, no more excitement. Her dad was waiting for her in the hallway.
He was like, so how did it go? I said, Dad, I think I did very bad. They asked me to leave.
Goodbye.
I said, but maybe you're good enough. They don't need to hear more. I said, no. But one man was shaking his head. He says, no, it's not possible. My dad was so... He held his fist, hammering on the edge of the window, the sound behind him. He says, God be away, God be away. In Chinese, they said, 就怎么办吧? What's the solution? What's the solution now? God be away. I look at him, I felt terrified. I thought, so I disappointed him. I have to find a way. You wait here, he said. I said, don't go.
Are you trying to talk him out of whatever this is?
Because I was embarrassed. I don't want to be more embarrassed. People tell him how terrible it was.
Yeah.
I said, I really didn't do well. It's my fault. I'm very, very sorry. He said, did you make a mistake? I said, I don't know. He said, just wait here.
Mind yourself.
Let me just remind you, most people, you fail your audition, it's over. Not at that.
Hey,
watch where the auditions were, and outside the room, cops was packing up papers. Because, you know, it was the last audition. She follows, violin in hand.
I heard my dad says, could she play again? If she was so terrible, can you talk to them? The guy says, no, I don't think so.